right, good to be here. Is this working? Everything connected? Yeah, okay. Super. So, yeah, I'm glad to be back at a developers conference. This feels like coming home. I do lots of agile events and organization change events and you name it. But I'm a software engineer at heart. So it feels like a bit coming home at a conference like this. And I'm very pleased to see that the entire conference has been branded in my favorite color, pink. Thank you for that. Nice touch. Thank you, organizers. But we're not going to talk about my favorite color. We're going to talk about my favorite music. I did a lot of research yesterday night to find what was my favorite song that was made in Austria in my favorite music era, which is the 80s. Yeah, I'm that old. I'm sorry. And I found it. It's this one. Thank you, Austria. Okay, there we go. Click. Come on. You can do it. Oh, Christ. No, this one. Isn't it wonderful? Und bring die Liebe mit von meinem Himmelschritt. Super fantastic. Thank you, Austria, for this contribution to music culture. Yeah. So I am not embarrassed to admit that I really like campy music. That's sort of my thing. The worse it is, the better. And that's also why I switched from Spotify to YouTube Music, actually, because on Spotify you can only find official music as delivered by music labels, but on YouTube you can find anything that people upload themselves. So that's a vast treasure trove of music that I have never heard before. Because I'm the kind of person who loved Italo disco, German disco, and things like that. It was all super awesome. And you couldn't find that well in my country, in the Netherlands. I had to hop on my bicycle and go to the city center and go through all the record stores to find the latest release of Eddie Huntington or something like that. And I was super happy. And that was, for me, part of the music experience. To find that music, that effort that I made that I did to find those records. And nowadays at Spotify and iTunes, at the touch of a button, you can play the latest song by Katy Perry or whatever they are called these days. And I think so boring. I want to make an effort. So I spent hours digging on YouTube Music, and I found a song, a rare song from 1989 from Austria, and it's called Mr. Voco, and I was so pleased with it. It's super! Absolutely fantastic. I mean, Taylor Swift, move over. This is Mr. Voco from Austria. And I checked yesterday night, it has 271 views worldwide. Half of that is me, I'm pretty sure. So I have jokingly said that Agile is a race to the bottom, Scrum, Kanban, Agile, whatever, because we deliver stuff so fast, so instantly, so frequently that the value of each delivery has gone to zero. I mean, what's the value of an individual song of Taylor Swift or whatever on Spotify if you can play it instantly? For me, the fun is the search, not being able to find it and taking weeks to find that favorite music. So faster delivery is, in my opinion, not always the better experience. But this is baked into the Agile Manifesto. It says there literally, our highest priority is to satisfy the customer through early continuous delivery. Delivery as often as we can, and also deliver working software frequently. Well, back then, a couple of weeks was often. This was 2001, okay? A bit of context. Nowadays, we can do that multiple times per day, of course, and we believe that is a good thing, but there is a big, big assumption here. that this would be better for the user and the customer, that it increases the user experience, and that is not always the case. Specifically in other kinds of products, as I will show you in a moment. So we call this incrementalism. There's actually a Wikipedia page on that. It is the idea of working towards working by adding to a project with many small increments instead of one big jump. So lots of little building blocks, and then the product gets bigger and bigger. That's what a core principle of the Agile Manifesto, or actually two of the principles cover that. But here's an example of where that went completely wrong. The Sydney Opera House. It is mentioned very often as the worst project in history of mankind. Well, at least recently. It was 1,500% over budget, and it took 15 years instead of the projected 5. And it was just, from the project management perspective, it was an epic fail. Now, it is, of course, one of the most beautiful buildings on the planet, but it took quite some effort to make it, apparently. And it started with Jörg Utzon, the architect. Basically, it just had a sketch on a piece of paper, and it looked magnificent. And he won a contest in Australia. And they said, we want this. This is the one we want. And they started digging already without having any information about what it would take to make such a building. Now we're going to make this. Let the architecture be emergent. Here's a wall and there's a wall. And then they literally halfway had to tear down walls, had to tear down structures, because it turned out that they had no clue how to make those magnificent roofs. Those petal-shaped roofs, they've never done that before. But the walls were already standing. And then they had to take it down. And that's emergent architecture gone wrong, I think. Someone forgot to check a few things. Wonderful book, How Big Things Get Done. And it proves that, well, some things don't work well in terms of the experience in the project if you add stuff incrementally and then expect that to be a better experience for everyone. There are a lot of examples. There's some examples on tunnels, train tunnels in the book. Well, you can make a train tunnel incrementally, of course. You can dig in another segment and another segment and another segment. But even if you made 99% of the train tunnel, you still don't have a tunnel. You just have a very long and expensive dead end. It's not a tunnel. It's only a tunnel when it's finished. So there's one moment where, ta-da, the experience is suddenly possible. Until that moment, the experience is not there. So incrementalism maybe has no place there. Actually, someone from Switzerland said, you know how we make tunnels? We first make a very little hole from start to finish, just to see what kind of rock we encounter, because maybe we shouldn't go that way. Maybe we should go another way. That's smart. You don't make a big opening hole for the first segment and say, yay, we made our first increment, because it might be in the wrong direction. So the Sydney Opera House was a disaster. And I tried to find words for this, for what are the kinds of projects, how do we call that result in one thing emerging, one thing culminating in a launch. There's no word for that, so I made it up. Culminationism is the opposite of incrementalism. It's the kind of project where it makes no sense to release it early, or it would actually be a bad experience for customers to release things early, and you have to prepare a big launch. Like, I mean, this event is a launch. It makes no sense to do this. Well, we have one session every week. Come back to this location for the next session next week. Makes no sense. There's a big launch. That's the culminationist kind of project. And I was wondering about this dichotomy between these two, because the Agilists say, well, oh, boo, this one is wrong, culminationism. You have to do incrementalism. And it felt wrong, that answer. It felt wrong when people said to me, if you don't deliver incrementally, you're doing waterfall. Boo, you're bad. And no, I don't feel bad if I make a very little hole in the rock to see if I encounter the wrong kind of stone along the way. I think that's a very smart thing to do. That's not waterfall. But how would we call that? Well, I'm going to solve that problem today. But first, I want to talk about another kind of example, another experience. I travel a lot, so I know a bit about hotels. My God, do they annoy me every now and then. So, for example, I once had an event in Munich on Thursday, and on Tuesday, I got a message on WhatsApp from a person I didn't know, and they asked me, what time will you arrive tomorrow? And I thought it was for the event organizer. And I was like, oh my God, I thought it was Thursday. Is it tomorrow? I got a near heart attack. Is my planning wrong? So I checked my email. No, it's Thursday. Why do they ask what time I arrive tomorrow? So I asked them, and it turned out it was the hotel, not the event organizer. What the fuck? So I told them, why do you want to know? I'm there when you see me. Yeah, we would like to know what time you arrive. You're a hotel. You're supposed to be open from the point from check-in time until midnight or even later. If I have to figure out what time I arrive, I need to check my landing time of the plane and how long does it take for the car to get to the hotel and things like that. I have to do 5 minutes of calculations. I'm not interested. Unless you tell me there's a virgin cocktail waiting for me at the reception, then there's something in it for me. That would be an experience. But this is a waste of my time. No, I don't do that. And then sometimes when they arrive at the fancier hotels that some of the organizers in exclusive places have ready for me, then there's someone there who grabs my suitcase and puts it on a trolley. And like, give it back. No, we'll carry that for you, sir. Why? I traveled 2,000 kilometers on my own, in taxis and airports, from security to the gate and back on trains and baggage cart and whatever. And you think for the last 50 meters I need help? Are you insane? And then I'm in my bed at night and I'm reading my book and there's knock, knock. No, go away. Knock, 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 go away. Knock, knock, knock. Oh, for crying out loud. So make myself decent, go to the door. What? Is there anything else you need, sir? Yes, I'd like to have a box of matches so I can set this place on fire. So I thought to myself, why am I being such a diva when it comes to hotels? What is the experience here that I want? And I thought, I want it to be my second home for a couple of days or nights. I just want a decent bed, I just want a decent shower, and nobody bothering me by offering me services all the time. It doesn't happen at my home either. And I'm glad it doesn't happen. I have to make my own coffee. I'm fine with that. So that's the experience that I want. I love this quote by Clayton Christensen. New products succeed not because of the features and functionality they offer, but because of the experiences they enable. And there's so much talk of products in the community, in the agile community where I'm from, the developer community, and everywhere else. Product this, product that, product roadmap, product planning, product backlog items, product managers, product owners. But who is talking about the experience? I don't care about your freaking product. I care about my experience. What does your product do for me? How does it make me happy or unhappy? There's a term for that, actually. It's called the job to be done. You should look into that. There's a whole community around this. The job to be done. What is the job of the product? That is make a customer or a user happy in a certain moment, in a certain context. I was at a hotel in Paris a couple of weeks ago. They had a party going on in the lobby, for crying out loud. Nobody's organizing parties at my house when I want to have a bit of relaxing quiet. But I had to go to my room because there was too much noise downstairs in the cafe, in the lobby. And that's not the kind of experience that I am after. Sorry, I'm 50 plus. Parties, not my age anymore. I love this quote by Reed Hastings of Netflix. We compete with everything you do to relax. That's the job to be done. We help you relax. That's the feeling that Netflix is after. They compete with video games, they compete with drinking a bottle of wine, though I think you can combine that. I'm not an expert. We compete with video networks, we compete with playing board games. Someone had another quote from Reed Hastings where he even said, we compete with sleep. This is a competitor. You either sleep or you watch Netflix. But, well, you can do it both, just leave it running. But that's smart. That is understanding what is the job here. Relaxation. You want to be relaxed, you feel relaxed, and you pick up your tablet and you watch another episode of whatever. This guy was a master at understanding the jobs to be done. Pun not intended, his name was Steve Jobs. You've got to start with the customer experience and work your way back to the technology. And you cannot start with the technology, figure out how you're going to sell it. And he said he made that mistake more times than anyone else. I have another example, wonderful example, of a company in China, Haier. They're the manufacturers of household appliances, vacuum cleaners, laundry machines, and you name it. Largest in the world. I was there 12 years ago, did a workshop, 30 people in the room. Super fascinating. I had a translator next to me, interpreter, who translated everything real time. This is annoying because it goes very slow. Everything has to be translated. He called me Professor Jurgen all the time. I thought that was cute. That was allowed. I was happy with that. And I am someone who cracks a joke every now and then. And when I crack a joke, then after translation, everyone laughed in the room, each time. And after a while, I got suspicious. I said, this can't be right. So at the end of the day, I asked the interpreter, so what do you do when I make a joke in English and you translate it? And it's impossible to translate it into Chinese, because it's not always possible, I think. And he said, with a very straight face, in that case, I say, Professor Jurgen made a joke, now we all need to laugh. Brilliant. Brilliant. And the guy had no sense of humor, so I'm sure he was right. Anyways, one of my favorite stories. Haier is famous for being a combination of 3,000, nowadays 4,000 micro-enterprises. They all respond quickly to market opportunities. And one of my favorite examples is that they got complaints from the rural parts of China about laundry machines. There were problems with laundry machines reported by farmers. And once they started digging into this, they found out that farmers were washing their potatoes in laundry machines. Why on earth would you do that? Well, when they started interviewing them, it turned out that you can get a better price for clean potatoes at the local market. So all the potatoes had to be cleaned. Well, why not try the laundry machine? Works on my jeans. Why not potatoes? Well, it worked for a couple of weeks, and then the machine broke down. So they saw this as a signal. Ta-da! We need a new device, a veggie cleaning machine. So one of those 4,000 units, micro-enterprise at Haier, they prototyped with an existing laundry machine. They just made it more resilient when people throw veggies in. And it worked, and it was a big success. They had a veggie cleaning machine. I'm not sure if it could do both, if there was like a dial that you could do your clothes and your veggies at the same time. Not sure if it is advised. But I love that kind of responsiveness of a company. They were super fast, and nobody asked for a veggie cleaning machine because they already had laundry machines. They do the job, yeah, but they broke down. And that's a crucial thing. Nobody asked. But still, someone offered a product. Nobody asked Steve Jobs for an iPod or an iPhone, but he saw the need in the market, and he responded to that. And Mr. Zhang, the CEO, said, traditional brands focus on the upgrading of products. We don't. We focus on the upgrading of user experiences. How can we make the experience of being a quality farmer a better experience? By not having the laundry machine break down. Because that's annoying. So we sell another device to them that's better for being feeling a quality farmer, because that's the feeling that they're after. That's the job to be done, to make those farmers feel that they are quality producers of vegetables, so that they can charge more in the local market. There are stories about this company in this book, the Startup Factory, by two Dutch guys, wonderful stories. And they've been there much more often than I have been. I was there only once. They have seen all the things that Hire does, and it's super, super inspiring. And that brings me to this topic. Maybe some of you have heard of the concept of the value stream. Agilists talk about this all the time. My God, bores you to death. And I'm from the community, so I contribute to that. But the value stream, as originally defined, is a set of actions needed to fulfill a value proposition from a request or order to the realization, delivery. And a value stream always begins and ends with the customer. And we have to improve the time to value, so the time that it takes from the moment the customer requests something to the moment we deliver that thing. But what if the customer never requests? I think this definition is wrong. Sometimes customers don't ask. But if you did your best, you would see, you could observe what they need. So I think this is a better definition. It's a set of actions, the value stream, needed to discover or deliver on a job to be done. Don't wait with your arms folded, tapping your feet, waiting for the next order, waiting for the next customer request, and deliver it as fast as possible, and then wait for the next request. No, that's stupid. You're too slow. You need to see what they're actually doing. Observe their behaviors. A value stream always begins and ends with a user or a customer, because the user of the laundry machine may not be the customer, the one who bought it. Those are different people in some cases. That requires us to do a lot of experiments. This guy is very good at that with his company. We'll leave them anonymous. To invent you have to experiment. And if you know in advance that it's going to work, it's not an experiment. And many companies, oh my God, they really do not like running experiments because, ooh, they might fail. Yeah, that's the point. That's the point of running experiments. Here's another fantastic book, hopefully, at some point. Oh, one slide is missing. Oh, that's weird. Okay. Yeah, oh, there it is. No, okay, well, no, yeah, come on, no, yeah, you can do it. Yes, yeah, oh, this is exciting. This is like jackpot. Will I see the slide or not? Okay, well, apparently not. The Invincible Company. Great slide. Really, just trust me, it was a fantastic slide. They say there are two kinds of loops, two kinds of iterative loops in the work that you do. One is to reduce the risk of building something that people don't like. And for that, you can try minimal marketable features. Right? The smallest thing you can do to improve the user experience. What is the next thing that you can do to test the desirability and the usability of your product? Those are things that also the design thinking community agrees with. That's one reason of going through an iterative loop. The other reason for going through the iterative loop is to reduce the risk of failing in terms of the feasibility, can I build it, and the viability of your product. Is it not going to make me bankrupt? That's pretty important. And they sort of forgot about this with the Sydney Opera House. Testing the viability, the feasibility of that building. It was a complete financial disaster. They started digging without checking for any of this. The riskiest assumption test, the RAT, I love that phrase. Here's another example. I loved this book, by the way, about Pixar Animation Studios, Creativity Inc. Already a few years old. They explain that the biggest risk in animated movies is not whether you can draw it or whatever. It is the story. Does the story work? You need to test that. That's the first thing you need to test. So the book explains how they test the stories. They literally have employees acting out the movie with each other, with an audience. They're not drawing anything. They're not putting up storyboards. No, it's just acting out the movie. And it turned out with their very first Toy Story movie that in the initial iterations,
People hated Woody, the main character. He was an asshole. Well, that's not going to sell. If people don't like the main character, they had to change that until people, oh, this is fantastic. Now he is a hero. He's an annoying hero, but he is a hero that I can get behind. And then they went to the next iterations and so on. They started storyboarding, and the computers, they come 2 years later. The 3D modeling it's not an issue. We'll do that when we get there. That's not the biggest risk. The first 2 years of a movie's development should be a time of solidifying the story beats. And we see that anywhere. We see it also with hardware. This is how SpaceX operates, reducing risk all the time through set-based design, modular design, reversible choices, digital twins. Just model the hell out of the replica of that physical thing on computers. Because the fewer times we have to shoot the rocket into space, the better. And Elon Musk said, still we shoot as many as possible when we can. However, each time we shoot one into the air, and sometimes they explode, we learn things that we could not have learned while it was still on the ground. But the things we could have learned while it still was on the ground, that's what we should learn while it's still on the ground. Because each launch is still like a few hundred thousands of dollars. So that approach is, of course, experimentalism, the philosophical belief that the way to truth is through experiments and empiricism. Fair enough. Then what is the opposite of that? Well, I thought that's people who think they know it all. I don't need experiments. I know how everything works. I'm the manager over here. I'm the chief architect. I can oversee the whole terrain. The ivory tower syndrome, some people might call it. I suggest maybe we can call that the managerialism. The people who think that they oversee everything and plan the hell out of the entire project. There's sometimes a place for that, but not always. And then if we combine those two axes, we get this. And this could be the most important picture you see this year. So take note. I will guide you through it. Quadrant number 1. This is the typical project, old-style project, some people might say, where you don't need to do things incrementally. You don't need to release individual increments, and you also don't need to test with experiments. So you don't need to deliver often, you don't need to discover often. It's like the 500th IKEA store. They know how to build them by now. They're pretty much the same. That's the whole brand, was what that's about, is the same. They're almost all the same. I learned they experiment with a new IKEA store here in Vienna, by the way. Someone told me yesterday. Okay, that's a new thing to discover. That's a different kind of project. But if you make the 500th of the same store, okay, been there, done that. Quadrant 2 is delivering things all the time, as fast as you can. A coffee bar or something. I already enjoyed my first Wiener Melange. I will enjoy many more the upcoming days, I'm sure. That will be this quadrant. Every coffee that you serve is an opportunity to get feedback. You could do it better, you could do it faster, so that's good, that's useful. Use that feedback loop of every delivery to a customer, to a client, to improve the process. This is what that value stream stuff is all about. Improve that value stream. Quadrant 3 is the opposite of that. Then you don't deliver things in increments. No, it makes no sense. Train tunnels, it makes no sense to do that. You run experiments. You first make a very little hole, because the biggest risk is going in the wrong direction, encountering rock that you can't get through. How do you test for that? Well, you make a very little hole. That's the first step. With animated movies, the biggest risk is making a story nobody likes. So how do you test for that? You talk about it, you play it out. You don't write anything, you don't animate anything, you just test the story. So that is experimentalism. We iterate. But there's one delivery of the movie at the end. There's one tunnel at the end that will be delivered with a big launch day. So it's culminationism. And then the final quadrant, quadrant 4, this is what agile is all about. Then we combine the two. This is frequent delivery and frequent discovery at the same time, combined in one. And then we have those 4 quadrants. And this is what solved for me that everlasting debate in the Agile community where some say, if you're not doing Agile, you're doing waterfall. No, because those other 3 quadrants together are not waterfall. Okay, maybe quadrant number 1, we could call that waterfall. But there's a place for that. For the 500th IKEA store, nothing wrong with a waterfall approach. They know everything, how to do that. But quadrant number 2 and 3, they're very different cases. And not even with all kinds of software products. For example, I'm sure some of you are gamers. The big games they make nowadays with 100 different people, they are culminationist in nature. They are released once, and then it better be fucking good. Because you have a one-time opportunity to make a first impression. So everything before is in quadrant 3. It is discovery with beta testers and their own employees and so on. We don't release anything. That makes no sense with a vast computer game. We keep it in 3. Of course, some game developers move to 4. Fine. If that improves the experience, you can try it. No, I'm not against it. I'm not saying it is always a greater experience to go to quadrant number 4. Sometimes quadrant 3 is better. I want to see the 3rd June movie. I am not interested in going to the movie theater 20 times to see the next 5 minutes. It's not a good experience. I will tell them, wait until you're done, and then deliver it to me, and then it better be good, because I'm there with a bag of chips and Coke and M&Ms and ready for 2 hours of entertainment. So that is hard Agile, and the other 2, maybe we can call it soft Agile. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with 2 and 3. They have their place. We have to look at customers to understand what they really want. What are the signals that we can respond to? And as I said before, I don't care in products. I care for my experience. My favorite recent example is with a Dutch bank. I switched banks because my old one blocked my account for no good reason, KYC problems. Well, screw you, I'm out of here. So I went to another bank. I downloaded the app. I filled in all my details, birth date, address, you name it. I scanned the chip on my passport, and I submitted it, and the app said, successfully submitted. All right, yay, 15 minutes of my time. Good. Where's my bank account? You get it within 1 day. Within 1 day? I mean, it's a record in a database. Come on. But okay, I understand compliance and things. So I waited. 3 hours later, I got an email, sorry, something went wrong. Oh. Seriously, every time I read something went wrong, I think a product owner somewhere on the planet should lose a finger. What went wrong? Well, for that I had to call the help desk. So I called the help desk. Yeah, something went wrong with my application. It was successfully submitted. And then, what's your birth date, name? I'm sorry, sir, I cannot find your application. Come on. Seriously, but no problem, sir, no problem. She was very kind. We can do it over the phone if you have your passport. I said, that is a problem. You're telling me you lost my passport information. No, I'm sure we haven't lost it. I'm sure we haven't lost it. It must be somewhere. I just don't have access to it. Well, that's your problem, not mine. I'm not going to start all over again because that's a bad experience. You're making it my problem. It's not my problem. It's your problem. If you want me as a customer, you go find that application. It was successfully submitted. If you have not lost my passport details, you have it. You call me back. If you lost my passport details, I don't even want to give you my money because I don't trust you as a bank with my important information. They never called me back. Oh, well. I complained about it online, of course, as I always do. Admittedly, within 5 minutes, the help desk, the social media department responded, oh, we're so sorry to hear this about your experience. Can you tell us what went wrong? I said, no. Well, I could. I said, just look in the help desk system. There's only one Jurgen Appelo in the whole freaking world. It happened today, just a few hours ago. Go and have a look. Yeah, we're sorry, we do not have access to that. Well, there you go. That is the problem. we went with the whole agile transformations and everything, we went from vertical silos to horizontal products. Yeah. We have an agile team for the app, and we have an agile team for the website, and we have an agile team for the help desk, and we have an agile team for the social media department. But between them, they have no freaking clue what the others are doing. They don't even have access to each other's systems. And that means that my experience sucks. I still don't have a bank account because I'm not interested in those products. I'm interested in a bank account and being able to pay. I can't. Because you don't know what you're doing. This is what they call the typical effects of agile business units that cannot work together to leave a whole customer experience. I call them islands of agility. It's agile over here, and it's agile over there, and in between, life sucks. And that's what you get as a customer, because you have to swim from one island to the other in order to get things done. And that's not a good experience. I touch upon this with what I call the unfixed model. That is my current work, my recent work, with a pretty picture, very lovely colors, including pink, of course, my favorite. I actually use pink for that important team, the experience crew. Those can be the data analysts, the customer journey mappers, the business analysts, and so on. Will look at what happens. They look at the data. They look at what customers are not asking for, but what they should have. Those people, they're very important. We call them the experience crew. They're not the same as the product owners or the product managers. It's a special talent that you need for that. And at the same time, all of this has to go faster. God, difficult life we all have. The pace of change keeps going up, and everything an organization does should be in service of accelerating its innovation rate. That's what Elon Musk said, and I completely agree with that. We have to move faster and faster, particularly with the onslaught of AIs these days. There's no going back. And that's why I rephrase business agility as such. I think business agility is about driving innovation and responding to change by continuously experimenting. That is the vertical thing, the discovery stuff with better user experiences, and consistently exposing and reducing all risks, frequent delivery, while accelerating the pace of change. And I have big arguments sometimes with other people in the Agile community, particularly with Scrum people, because this is literally in the Scrum guide. An increment is a concrete stepping stone toward a product goal. Each increment is additive to all prior increments and thoroughly verified. And in order to provide value, the increment must be usable. It's there in the Scrum guide. I show them all the time. Scrum says you should deliver increments or make them potentially shippable, potentially deliverable to clients as useful increments. That does not work with a movie. That does not work with a train tunnel. That does not work with lots of other kinds of products where you do have to iterate in order to experiment. For example, I'm working on a novel now. It comes out in 3 weeks. Yay, my 5th book. Some people told me, oh, the agile way to creating a novel, that would be releasing per chapter. Are you an idiot? That does not work at all when you write fiction. Because by the time you get to chapter 7, you think, maybe it would be better experience for the reader if not the father dies, but the mother in the first chapter. Well, good luck to that, if you've already delivered it. So no, you don't deliver anything. You iterate over the entire scope of the experience. The first iteration, the first thing I did with my novel was I invited some friends for coffee and I told them the story that I had in mind. I hadn't written anything. We just discussed the story and the main characters and I got feedback. That was one of the first iterations. And the next, I just made an outline of everything and then I paid a development assessment on my structure, on the outline. I still hadn't written anything. I just reduced the risk all the time. In case anyone is interested, I have proofreaders reading the proof version right now, so you might want to sign up, and it's going to be released in a couple of weeks, and I'm super excited, and well, you're going to tell me if it sucks or not. And I don't want to finish this keynote without saying goodbye with my final favorite song from Austria, which is from the 90s, and I actually have this CD single. It's super awesome.
Best one I found, and it is, of course, this one.
Shut up and sleep with me, come on, why don't you sleep with me? Shut up and sleep with me, come on, sleep with me, shut up and sleep, yeah, you got it. Why don't you sleep with me, shut up.
All right, sin with Sebastian. It's not intended as an invitation, so don't worry about that. I hope this earworm is in your head for the rest of the day. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you got out of it that Agile is not intended to be only frequent delivery. You should perhaps do frequent discovery, and that is a perfect alternative to be Agile, in my opinion. Thank you so much, and always keep the experience in mind. Okay? You have the blue microphone.
Yes,
all right.
the blue square.
The blue square, exactly.
Jurgen, thank you very much for your talk.
Pleasure.
It was very invigorating.
Cool.
Very nice. So maybe there are some questions from the audience. Don't be shy.
The first one is always scariest. Okay, question from the audience. All right. Yes, over there we have one. Thank you, the savior.
I try to throw.
So, thank you. You mentioned the experience crew.
Yeah.
What makes a good experience crew? What people should be included?
What people should be included? Well, as I said, anyone who watches the behavior of customers by either observing the data trails that they leave behind. I mean, the bank should be able to see that I had an issue. That first there was an application, then I went to the help desk, then I argued with the social media department, and I'm still not a customer. Why not? I mean, it's not that hard to find that data if you make an effort. That is the job of the experience crew. The job is also to talk with customers, but don't believe every word that they say. Just read between the lines and figure out, why are they asking this? Why are they complaining about laundry machines? What is going on here? Because we might discover an opportunity for an entirely different product that they will be happy to pay for, but they're not asking. So that is typically what experience crew would do. That is far beyond what an average product manager or product owner would do, because they are busy enough with product backlog items and prioritizing and talking with stakeholders and so on. So in some really good companies that I have seen, the experience crew people, they usually go by name of user journey experts and data analysts and so on. They inform product management and say, this is what we found. And then it's up to product management to prioritize everything, of course, with the team. So they're like the feeders, the senses, the sensors of the organization.
Thank you.
Some more questions. Nice catch.
Very well.
So thank you, Jurgen. I very much like the focus on experience. I think this is very super important. But I have some questions regarding your comparison to buildings and books and software.
Yeah.
I'm not so completely sure. My feeling is that we are talking about different categories of work.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So last year we had the wonderful Dave Snowden here. And you're surely aware of all the things regarding complexity
Yep.
and complicated and all the differences.
Yeah.
So a book is a book. It has like a final state, hasn't
Yeah.
it? In a way, in the same way as a building has a final state.
Yes.
Software generally doesn't have this kind of final state.
Right.
Yeah? So it's like, for me, it feels like a different category.
Well, good point, and that's why I also mentioned the large computer games on Sony PlayStation or whatever. These are usually released in a culminationist approach. At some point, a game is available, it is completely finished. Well, there might be a few bugs in it, that's not the important thing, but there is a launch date for computer games. They don't release it feature by feature. That makes no sense for a game, because the experience with the game is very different from the experience with business software. With business software, it's like, okay, give me half of it, fine. That means I can already use half, because that's valuable. With a game, no. You get one chance at a first impression with a game.
And even though the game is not finished, and there could be add-ons and new levels and so on. But the very important thing, and that's purely experience thing, is the moment you have your launch date, it should be fantastic. And then you use that momentum that you have for further development and so on. You don't release anything before it works as a game, before it's fantastic. So the experience here is key. So maybe indeed train tunnels and books are not the perfect analogy, but even with complex products that rarely change, you might want to think about, am I aiming for a launch date where it needs to be fantastic?
I think that's completely true. I mean, you have one first shot, but that's true basically for every product, isn't it? And then you go from there. And but if you don't get it right, at least in a minimum level, also like in the context of thinking like a minimal viable product that should be delivering value and a good experience to the user and solve a problem for the user, then you're out.
Yeah. And both are valid approaches. I mean, look at iPhone versus Android phones. iPhone, Steve Jobs was very the culminationist approach. He wanted a launch date for the iPhone, and then it'd be fantastic with the event and the marketing around it. And Android was continuously, and there were crappy releases all the time until it started looking like something usable, and it would still look like crap, but it was a decent alternative. And then it was much more how developers would work with software, the way the Android phones were upgraded all the time. Both are valid. The question is, what kind of experience do you want people to have? Because Apple charges premium price for that experience that they offer.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. I think we have time for one more. There was one more back there.
Yeah, over there in the back. Whoops. There was a bit of wind, I saw that. Not your fault.
My question is somehow related also to this one. Because you made a point between the incrementalist and the culminatalist, but the culminatalist, I don't think usually is the best strategy for software, because you may lose momentum, and in this kind of technology, especially if you lose that momentum, you are out of the market. You see also right now with the AI, there is kind of a golden rush. All the companies are going towards there for a good reason, because the time is really crucial. So what are your thoughts about that? I think you made the point, of course, if you do the big launch, it may be better. But what about the time? Because I think it's really crucial.
Yes, absolutely. So great example, AI. I mean, just last week, OpenAI released ChatGPT for Omni, right? They did not show incremental features the weeks before. There was a launch moment. But they have to weigh that waiting for the launch moment to have the wow effect and to have that momentum against waiting too long, because Gemini and Claude and all the others, they're catching up. And then they might steal the light. And that is the art, I would suppose, of project management and business management to find the optimum balance between the two. We want to wait for an optimum experience in terms of the launch date and the momentum that we get from that, because it's too early, it's crap. We saw that with certain computer games from Poland. Maybe some of you still know. A bit too early released, very funny. But they recovered from it. So you don't want to be too early, but also not too late. There's an optimum somewhere, and I think that's a gut feeling that managers have to develop. What is the optimum window for the launch of this thing? Not too fast, not too late. Good point.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you very much once again, Jurgen.
Thank you too. Thank you.